And the other 46% are looking at fall 2021. So they all immediately looking at their education loan at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So guys, during this session will be about an hour, and what we would be discussing in the session would be eligibility parameters based on course and country. We would be also discussing about the property documents and the eligibility parameters for the property documents. We would also be understanding the application process and document checklist, which is required for Bank of Baroda. Another thing, which obviously we are impacted by COVID-19, so we would be looking at the COVID-19 situation or Bank of Baroda, how has it changed in COVID-19. Another thing which we would be looking at are the silent features of Bank of Baroda. So what are the salient features and how does it function? And about how does Eduloans help you get the best BOB deals. So, sir, now in terms of eligibility parameters for student loans, what does Bank of Baroda see in general, and then what is the specifics in terms of student loans, student profile and parent profile?
Okay. First of all, Baneth, a big thank you to you for having me on your show, and a very good evening to all the aspiring students on the chat. Okay, the first thing Bank of Baroda would look for is the student profile. Where is he going to go? Which college is he planning to study? And of course, when a loan is taken, normally the parents do come as part of the loan structure. So we do look at the parent profile as well. So, but what we look at is in a holistic manner. We don't look at it only this or only that. We look at what kind of a course, what kind of a college, and holistically we look at what is the student looking at. The objective being is that how we can help the student.
Correct. So in terms of the student profile, in terms of the course, does STEM, non-STEM, MBA make a difference in the Bank of Baroda loan structure?
Okay. See, Bank of Baroda international loan structure, what we have done is that we have classified into four main structure. Basically STEM, then we have MBA as one segment, then we have medical as one segment, and we have others as a classifying segment. So within this segment, of course, we have categorized a few colleges, identified colleges which are premier for STEM, which are premier for MBA, which are premium for MBBS, and there are other colleges which are premium for law or econometrics or whatever the other courses which are there, rest of the courses. All of them are listed in our website. It's a very transparent list. Everybody can access the website and have a look at it. So this is how we have classified it. Depending on the college, it has been identified. The colleges are classified not pertaining to one country, but across the globe in all the major educational ports where the people, students go and study. So we have identified premier colleges across most of the locations, or most of the countries, I should say.
Okay. So obviously, sir, these these premium colleges which you have discussed about, what are they? So they are what are the top 200? How many of them are in the premium list at the current moment?
See, there would be about close to about 260 odd colleges which are there in the premium list, and it is a combination of multiple factors. I mean, Banit, you know it better. Some colleges are reputed colleges. We go by the ranking, the course, everything is taken into consideration, and then we go ahead and rank the colleges accordingly.
Good, sir. Now, sir, coming to in terms of, say, the competitive GRE test scores, or are they a consideration for BOB? Because a few of the lenders keep a 300 benchmark or a 3.5 benchmark, etc. Is that a consideration by looking at?
We do consider it holistically, but the benefit would accrue to the student in terms of premier colleges based on the admission where he has got. Sometimes what happens is our students may have a fabulous score in say a GRE or a GMAT, but may still decide to go to a college which is probably not in our premier list. In that particular case, we will go with the premier list offering to the student, not the premier. I mean, whatever is the college he has chosen. If it is in a premier list, he gets the premier list. If it is in a non-premier list, he will get the non-premier list offer.
Because, sir, what has happened, let's put scenarios in place, ki kafi colleges have waived off the GRE criteria. Of intake for spring and fall 2020. So
Correct.
that is one criteria. So obviously, guys, Bank of Baroda ka koi bhi loan, for in case you give a GRE or not give a GRE, they are it is not affected at all. So that is, it just purely depends on the course and the university, and to get to the premium or the non-premium kind of thing.
See, the eligibility, obviously, one would look at how he has got his admission. So either it's a merit-based admission or it could be a score-based admission. But the admission letter would be required from the colleges for us to process them.
परफेक्ट परफेक्ट. अच्छा सर, नाउ आप अभी आपका सेकंड लेग पे आइए इन टर्म्स ऑफ पेरेंट्स प्रोफाइल. नाउ what are the documents you look at the parent profile, and how do you rate a salaried and a self-employed? उसमें क्या फर्क करते हैं? How do you differentiate between them?
No, we don't have any specific differentiation on salaried and self-employed, and there is no specific, oh, we like salaried or we like self-employed. We don't have something like that. It's all the same. All parents would be required to submit their income tax, income tax report, bank statement. If they are salaried, we will ask them for their payslip. If it is self-employed, we will want them to share their income tax calculation sheets or their current account, or if they are running a company, their licenses and all those details. Basically, we would want to know what is their income criteria or where they're getting their income from. That's what we normally look for when we are looking at the quality. Yeah.
So as far as, so let's understand for the people in general, कि Bank of Baroda में there is not no difference if you are a salaried or a self-employed, and the income is income, because many other lenders have this issue कि they prefer salaried and हम self-employed को नहीं देंगे and stuff like that. So that's nothing here in terms. अच्छा, and sir, in terms of parents who are retired, now we are dealing with the majority हमारे जो our students are, they are in their 20s, maybe early 20s or late 20s, and their parents are nearing retirement, and parents sometimes are retired. So how does Bank of Baroda look at that कि अगर my parent is retired and IT return भले file करते हो, but it is a retired IT return, does that affect my loan?
See, what would we look at it is that, one, we will look at primarily the student and the college and his future income. It's a holistic way of looking at it. We do look at the parents' income, and it has to be on a case-to-case basis. We look at it, but we are not saying that if you are retired, we don't consider the loan or something like that. There is no such policy that we will reject the case just because the parent is retired or something like that. But we will look at holistically what kind of an income the parents have, what kind of a support they bring on the table. Everything will be viewed. But we don't have a straight bullet answer for this. It will be on a case-to-case basis. But there is no answer which says no or
Correct.
anything
So
that comes with that approach.
So you want
there is no negative outlook to it.
Negatively नहीं होगा.
No.
क्या होता है ना sir, many financial institutions, I mean, these are parameters which I mean, as guys, as question answers, we are trying to address issues which you will look at or which you will face while looking at education loan, and these are finer points. Everybody knows education loan बहुत simple चीज है, तीन चीज चाहिए होती है. It's like a no-brainer. But the insightful insight from this session is that I can tell you that other lenders do look at or are less reluctant to give you if your parents are retired and have passive income versus a Bank of Baroda. So that's the positivity of this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then, sir, coming to the third parameter, which is about the property and eligibility criteria. So, guys, before we do that, I would like to run a small poll. Just a minute. To look at how many of our audience has a property to give, because Bank of Baroda generally does give a property itself. And we will come to how the property, etc., is there. Okay. So, sir, we have about 73% of our audience who has a property and look at, and about 26% no. So, guys, जो 26% no है, we are coming in the future slides why you should look at BOB and why you should think about a property. So, sir, what does Bank of Baroda look in the property?
See, it's a very simple thing. The property should be mortgageable. The title should be very clean and clear. The ownership should be very clear. These are the two things which we'll look at, and it should be enforceable. Matlab, under the SRFAC Act, it should be enforceable as a lender. These are the primary things which we look for in any property that we will take on board.
Okay. And sir, what about Mahada properties? Now, many of our students
you
are
take one.
So Mahada is taken into. There's no problem for Mahada properties.
Yeah, as long as mortgageable, we don't have an issue.
Perfect. That's very nice, guys. So Mahada properties. Now, sir, there is a concept called convenience deed. Now, what is this concept, and how should students go about this?
See, conveyance deed typically is basically the transfer of ownership from a buyer to seller. It could be from a builder to a society, or it should be from a builder to a customer, depending on which state you are from. So, what it typically means is the transfer of ownership and the title for the property and other details. So it basically is required because end of the day, if somebody has sold you something, you need all to have all the authority with respect to that particular property with you. Tomorrow you should be able to sell it. Tomorrow you should be able to work on that particular property. The rights of the property should not rest with anybody else. So it's basically the ownership right on the property.
So a convenience deed is important. That's one thing.
Normally it's called conveyance. Why do we call it convenience? Conveyance deed.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so fair. Sir, secondly, now we do encounter some cases, and these are a handful. कि कभी-कभी क्या होता है, पुराने जो which are very old, the property is not registered. The chain of agreement में latest are registered, the older one, maybe the first or second is not registered. So how do so these kind of so does BOB give when it is registered? And the second question you can add along with them, that if suppose my parents, like for the 27% who didn't have ki parent ki property nahi hai, but grandparents ki hai, uncle ki hai, can we use them to mortgage?
Okay, one second. Let me tell you two things on this. I think something has connection has become a problem. One second, hold on for a moment. There is some connection seems to have low at the moment.
So I can hear you. Video is not there.
Okay, it should come back. I guess it's a matter of time.
Guys,
let me tell you.
Yep, sir, we can not hear you.
One second. Let me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but we cannot see you.
I think network is a little slow. So I'll continue with the conversation. So I'm sure it'll come back if I'm not wrong. One second. Just give me. Why it's not there? Okay. For some strange reason, the.
So, but we can hear you. Sir.
Okay, I'm back.
You're back.
Okay. So basically, you are talking about. See, we do take, uncle, auntie's property, as long as they come in as a co-applicant in the loan structure. It just cannot be that they give a property, but they are not part of the loan process. They should be part of the loan process, and we do take it. See, we will look at registered property, but it's a little complicated, Banat. It depends on a case to case. We look at it, but normally, Banat, I think there is a signal issue. It keeps going and coming back.
No problem. Keep talking, sir. No problem.
Okay. So what happens is typically we would want to have a chain wherein the title is clear. So what happens is when you have a registration in the past, it gives you a clear title chain. That is the reason why it has been looked at it. But having said that, I would rather say that we will look at it on a case-to-case basis to actually come to a point saying that, yeah, this is a mortgageable property or a not mortgageable property. It will vary, and there are, I'm telling you, tons of variation when it comes to the property when it's going to be mortgageable.
Okay. In terms of, now the question arises, what value on the property does BOB lend on? So this is one question. If my property is worth, say, 50 lakh rupees, हमको कितना loan मिल सकता है? Is one very relevant question.
Very good. See, what happens is, what we do is that we take realizable value of the property. We when somebody applies for a loan with Bank of Baroda, so there is a valuation of the property is done, and the valuation after arriving at the valuation, we see what is the realizable value. and basis the realizable value and basis the type of the loans the student is looking at, a loan amount is arrived at for the student. So for example, he takes we for a previous colleges we go up to almost 100% if he's opting for an EMI option. Then the amount will vary if he's opting for a moratorium based loan. So there is a variation. So we call it realizable value depending on the loan value, what is the student looking for, and the property value. इन दोनों को comparison में ये दिया जाता है.
ठीक है. Sir, we have a question. Sir, LRS needed for mortgageable property from Telangana. So, sir, have you heard of LRS and उसमें कैसे होता है?
Lease rental, is he what he's talking about?
Yeah, LRS would be lease rental.
I've lost you.
So, can you hear me?
So, what does he want to know? Yeah, I can hear you, but it's in breaking a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, he's talking about Telangana region and the LRS. Can you just specify, Pavanasi, LRS so I can address this question to sir as well? Okay. Now, in terms of let's move on to the next question. Take this to the end. Now, in terms of sir, engineering certificate, sometimes the property is older and etc. So, if the property is quite old, is engineering certificate?
Yeah, if it is a very old property, let's say 20-year plus or a 30-year plus kind of a property, then there is something which we require as the structural stability of the property. Any authorized engineer can give you the certificate. That would be required. If it's a very old property, not a new property.
Perfect. There are a lot of questions which are coming with regard to property, guys, which we will address at the end of the session in terms of looking at this thing. We would. Okay. In terms of in terms of application process and documents, how does the process in Bank of Baroda education loan work?
Okay. See, what happens is I take an example. The student is coming through Eduloans to us. Would that make it easier?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if they are applying through you, what will happen is your team would collect all the documents. Your team is well versed in knowing what are the documents which the bank would require depending on the student profile and the kind of loan that he is looking for. So it becomes easy for them. So they will hand over all the documents to you, and your team would coordinate with our team in Bank of Baroda, and they will share all the documents to Bank of Baroda. Once all the document is handed over to the Bank of Baroda, what are the documents you will require? So basically, the list of documents would be your KYC document, which basically is to tell you who you are, which will require your photo ID, your address proof, where you stay, and for the applicant and co-applicant, all this information would be required. Then you will require the documents. It would in your payslip or your ITR, Form 16, those kind of documents would be required. So those are taken into consideration. Your academic data would be till now what has been your score and how have you performed, and the college you're going to go, what kind of where you have secured your admission. So that would also be required. And if it's a property related loan, we will require the property related documents as well. So these are the broad ones. Under each heading there are n number of documents, like you can be your address proof, could be your Aadhaar, your passport. International is required to have a passport copy, because if you're traveling abroad, ideally you should have a passport copy. So that would be required. So like that, income may it is Form 16 or your payslip or your ITR, your bank statements, but all those information would be required. And that's about it. And basically, these are the major documents you would be required. And there are multiple options on it. We can keep iterating, but if you have to broadly categorize your KYC document, your income document, your educational document, and your property document, these are the documents that would be required.
Okay. And sir, coming to in terms of if as a student I don't have a PAN card, is that okay?
It's okay as long as you can always apply for a PAN card and submit a receipt. You don't need to have a card necessarily in hand. Applying for a PAN card is just about pretty easy job. You can always apply and give a receipt to it.
Okay. What about, sir, when do you have to pay the processing fee for Bank of Baroda?
See, Bank of Baroda takes processing fee upfront. Okay, when you're applying for the loan, you will have to submit the processing fee. So there are two things which we take. If it's a property related loan, we take one processing for your legal and evaluation. The other is your regular processing fee. The legal and valuation is non-refundable. So we take that because we will have to get a valuer do your valuation of your property, and the legal team to check whether the chain of documents and the mortgageability of the property is checked. That's about 10,000 or the 10,030 odd rupee, including the GST. Processing fee would be close to about 11,800 rupee. Now that amount is refundable to all those people whose loans are rejected, or when they take disbursement of the loan. When they take disbursement of the loan, we will be refunding that amount, deducting the GST amount. Our GST amount is not refundable because that has already gone to the account. 10,000 rupees is refundable. But it is not refundable after you take a sanction and you don't even take a disbursal. You say, no, 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 I don't want the loan. In that particular case, it is not refundable.
ठीक है. So guys out there, एक चीज let us clarify. I mean, so we are getting quite a huge number of questions which we will take at the end, because if we start taking the questions in the middle, our presentation will last for about 2.5 hours instead of like but we will take these questions in the end, guys. Just to reiterate in terms of application process, there is absolutely, if the processing fee is refundable from Bank of Baroda, तो अगर आपका loan reject हो जाता है, or else if you are in case in terms of, and if you take a loan, it gets adjusted with the first disbursal. The only case the processing fee is non-refundable, as sir said, if you take the sanction letter and then you do not, then finally you decide not to go for it, then hence it is there. Sir, in terms of the sanctioning, I just want to ask you another thing which I put it in terms of BOB. What is a special mortgage store? So does the branch have the power, or it is a centralized team which kind of helps and that streamlines the process?
See, specialized mortgage store is a place where all mortgage-based loans are processed. So they are experts there. So we have kept it in a particular cell or a place where they process all mortgage-related loans. So all the files would go to them. So they are, because of experience and expertise, they would be able to process your loan better.
And sir, another thing which one question just come and which is quite relevant here is, what is the time taken? So as a Bank of Baroda, what is the timeline we can expect for a student, to get his loan document application done and documents processed?
See, the subjective term, if all documents are in place, for example, the property documents are in place, every document required for the loan, and with all clarifications are in place, we should be able to give them a loan sanction the loan within 2 weeks.
Wow, that's excellent. So in terms things, so we are definitely looking at ekdam speed pe process hai and part of it, and that's the application process. So guys, basic set of documents required, as sir said, and then obviously processing fee is again refundable, so you don't need to think out twice while submitting your entire set of documents. Now we come to one very pertinent question, and before that I will run a small poll for this, so we will understand how many of our students here are looking or impacted by the COVID-19 situation, and then we will discuss how we are working together to help the people out.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, sir, the poll is quite encouraging. I was expecting sab 4-5 pe honge, but a good number, 20% say mild. Most of them, at least about 60-70% are concerned, from 3 to 5. So obviously there is concern. So sir, this is one thing which I would want to ask you, that in terms of Bank of Baroda remaining operational, how BOB remained operational under COVID-19?
Bank has never closed. It has always been operational. within the guidelines of what the government has prescribed in terms of lockdowns or in terms of movement and all those things. So initially, people were not allowed to go out, so we were not able to do any CPV, or we were not about to, contact point verifications or doing validation. Everything was blocked at some particular point of time. Right now, it is all opened up. However, there are restrictions from the society. So, for example, if a student is looking for a loan and the society does not allow the verification to happen, then there will be challenges. Otherwise, we are right now processing, going to places and doing all the processing as is required. But as I told you, there are restrictions either from the government in some particular states, in some particular locations, some areas which are quarantined, and some offices are very particular that they will not allow you to come for. So we will face challenges there. But otherwise, if you are asking from the bank perspective, yeah, we are open and we would want to continue the process.
Now, sir, many students at this current situation have started their courses online.
Okay.
So, I want to understand how is Bank of Baroda supporting them if they choose to take the course online in the current COVID-19 scenario.
Okay, so I'll break this into two for you. One is in case of people going in for an online. So they have taken an online course, and that means their admission is confirmed. But what is also required is the visa part of it. Assuming visa is available, or if they have there is a refundability of their loan by way of either you blocked it with the blocked account or then there is no issue whatsoever on that. But in the case of the student looking at there is no visa, online classes have started, then if the student is still, we are still looking at a student, let's say he's going to one of my premier colleges in STEM courses, and that too for a master's, we are still willing to look at supporting the student. But yeah, we will end up funding only to that amount portion of the education. That means if it is, say, if it is 4 semesters, then they will end up getting 25% of the loan amount. So that is how we have structured it to ensure that the students have the comfort level and they can start proceeding. Alternatively, we are giving an option to the student. You pay it up immediately, and the moment the visa office is open and you end up getting your visa, we will reimburse your loan. That whatever amount you have spent, we will reimburse that for you, and you can continue with and subsequently sanction for your additional loan also. So the student who are very sure that my visa ho jayega, I will surely I am planning to go. They can always invest that initial portion and then can take a reimbursement from the bank later date once the sanction is done.
Perfect, sir. Because, sir, if you are giving 25%, which means you're giving the first semester fees.
Correct.
Right. So technically, guys, all you guys out there, who are looking at starting online as well in the spring 2021 and fall 2021, जो आप online देख रहे हो, UOB does support you if you have in the preferential list. If you are
masters
and masters, yeah, basically master students, those who are looking online,
STEM
and STEM focused, they can be looking at an online thing. Okay. Sir, what is the so in terms of country wise, now majority of them are US here, and a few of them are other countries like Germany, Australia. So for USA in general, abhi jaise now the embassies have opened up and students do wahan jaake are doing the course online. So usme to there is no change in the policy, right? If the student gets a visa and
no problem, no change in policy.
So there is no scenario change or has, okay, so another thing which I want to ask you is, has Bank of Baroda changed any parameters for these countries due to COVID-19?
So we haven't changed any, our policy has not changed. It has always remained. Earlier, what happens is earlier the disbursement used to happen either along with the visa. For example, in Canada and Australia, there is something called a block account where you will park the fund. It will be a pre-visa disbursal, only to the extent that we will pay the money to the the blocked account earlier. But then the visa is bound to come and the student will fly. But now what's happening is that there is no consideration for visa at all in some cases. Students have not gone for visa, admissions have happened, but visa is not to be very clear. So in those cases, I just shared with you how we will go about doing it. Otherwise, in terms of our parameters or policies, there is no change.
Okay. And with regard to medical, now you touched base that there were medical courses and medical scenarios. So for people who are MBBS aspirants abroad, so Bank of Baroda is funding medical students, right?
See, we do fund medical students. It has to be, and it's on a case to case, Vanith. You know very well, all the medical colleges across the globe are not necessarily the most reputed. Okay, so there is a case to case look. We look at it because it has to be MCI, which has been recently renamed right now. It has to be approved by them, and then we look at the student, and then we end up. But we do fund. We do fund medical courses, but on a case to case. We will have to. I can't tell you all medical cases abroad is being financed by Bank of Baroda. We do fund, but we will look on a case to case basis, and we do that case.
Fair enough, sir. Now, let's understand, guys, and this is where we can, a lot of your queries will be addressed in terms. So we had, sir, various questions coming in regarding the, premium list of colleges. So the first question is, I would say the premium list of colleges, where can it be found?
It's in our website.
Okay.
It's available in website. Otherwise, they can always be in touch with you. You already have all the data with you.
Absolutely. So, guys, all you guys out there in the premium list of colleges with the courses, reach out to Eduloans immediately after this, and you'll get in this. Now, sabse bada mudda, the most important mudda of all. What is the interest rate for BOB for preferential? I mean, that's the premium list and non-preferential list. Sabse that what does BOB currently have?
See, I am very happy to share with you, Banit. Ours is probably the lowest that you can get in the market. Preferential list is as low as 8.5%. Non-preferential is not very far. It is about 9.15%. So even non-preferential by standard is the lowest in the market if you look at it. And preferential, though, it's extremely low. And on top of it, if it's a girl student, we give an additional 0.5% rate waiver. So so for all the girl students there on the call, it's an additional benefit that you enjoy.
So for a girl child, the Bank of Baroda loan is at 8%.
Absolutely.
And non-preferential list is at 8.65, which is equally wonderful. So
absolutely.
I mean, if you have a property and it is mortgageable and kind of fits the bill, I think BOB is, in terms of the interest rate, I think is the best in the market. And in terms of looking at कि सबसे अच्छा rate आपको मिलता है. Okay, another thing which I would want to ask you is what is the 80E tax benefit? So how does that help you to kind of reduce the rate in terms, and what is that benefit?
See, 80E is a tax benefit which people are entitled for. I'll give you with an example. Let's say the student going abroad, the loan quantum is, let's say, 40 lakh of a rupee, which is a reasonable amount to expect for somebody going to US. Okay, now 40 lakh of rupee, let's assume they will pay an interest of 8.5%. Would be what? 3.2 lakh, 3.3 lakh is the interest amount. This entire amount can be adjusted against their income.
Okay.
So, and it depends on the parents. Parents can take the tax benefit on that. So if the parents, let's say, as an income of, let's say, 20 lakh of a rupee, so the 3.2 lakh can be adjusted against it. So they get a tax benefit for 3.2 lakh worth. 30% of it is almost a 90,000 rupee saving. A lakh of a rupee saving per annum for the loan amount. Now there is no cap in, unlike if you go for a home loan, there is a cap to what extent you can claim tax benefit. But in education loan, there is no cap. So if somebody is taking a 1 crore loan, the entire interest amount can be adjusted against your income. So technically, if I were to put a thumb rule calculation, if the parent is in a 30% tax bracket, so typically you will get a 30% waive off on 8.5. So if the thumb rule is 2.5, reduced ho jayega, so you're technically at a rate of 0.6%.
that is like 6% पे तो
FD मिल जाएगा. So it's a good, absolutely.
There is one question on ROI which I thought I'll take it. Okay. The rate of interest, does it change for Bank of Baroda or is it fixed?
It's a variable rate of interest. It is linked to our BRLLR. We call it the repo rate with the this thing. So as and how the RBI moves the rate, our base rate will change, and when it changes, this will also change accordingly. It can go up or it can come down.
Okay. So obviously, guys, the rate is variable, so it depends. It goes up and down. So current rate is so and so, but and that is subject. So the entire rate across all banks will move in the similar rate because RBI का change होता है तो सब banks अपना rate change करते हैं.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's the part of it. Okay. And now, sir, we have discussed about the processing fee. In terms of, okay, now if I have how much of loan do you provide, and do you provide? There were questions with regard to मेरे को एयर टिकट के पैसे मिलेंगे या नहीं, मेरे को रहने के पैसे मिलेंगे या नहीं. Then I had issues. There were many multiple questions on in terms of कि कब मिलेंगे मेरे को पैसे. If suppose there was another question. I mean, I'm just putting you the gist of all the questions so that I can summarize it to you in terms of value of the loan. And there was one question is, suppose the profit or when I'm staying there and that lease is not on my name. So what happens then? So I mean, if you can take us through how much loan, what exactly happens in terms of the loan you provide.
See, we provide for all loans, all expenses related to their study, which would include the tuition fee. It will include their living expenses, food, boarding, and other travel expenses.
Travel also will be included.
Travel expenses, laptop, other expenses, whatever is anything related to their education will be funded for. Just to put it simply, all expenses related to their education, boarding, lodging, tuition fee, and all laptops and everything that is required for travel expenses, all of them are funded for.
Okay. So obviously, and in case the student is, so I can clarify that in case the student is not on the lease agreement, right? And now his friend is, and he can obviously the Bank of Baroda, you can write in a mail and he can request for.
So Banit, you know that well, so they can share their information on that. So there are 2-3 things one would look at it. I think my video is gone again, so let's hope it comes back. Okay, what we can do is that there are different expenses. So what bank does is that as and when the expenses arise, the bank will end up funding it. Okay, so and it is also important for you don't take all the money upfront, because the moment you take the money, the interest clock will start ticking for you. So I don't ask you that if your total cost is 40 lakh, you take the entire 40 lakh on day one. So you can take the first 10 lakh. Then you want 5 lakh, you take the next 5 lakh. Then you want the next 5 lakh. You don't have to pay interest to me as and when it is. I mean, even if you take 40 lakh, the interest will start counting from day one. So you take 10 lakh, 15 lakh, 20 lakh, as in how your expenses are going to come. So initially a tuition fee will come. If you're going to Canada, initially you will require the blocked account fund to come for you. So we will pay the blocked account fund initially. Then you take your visa, then you will land up there. Then you will say, please pay my tuition fee. Then we'll pay you a tuition fee. So as in how your expenses are going to come, we will end up paying for you.
Perfect. And sir, एक और चीज with regard to the disbursal process. Now there were some questions on the disbursal की कैसे होता है. In fact, tell us in terms of disbursal obviously happens branch wise, wherein आप हर semester का payment लेते हैं, etc.
Correct.
How convenient is it? Do you have to submit documents every time, or how flexible is BOB on this?
So you will have to come back and inform what is the new thing, either by mail or your co-applicant can approach our branch, and you will have to inform what is the new tuition fee. When you have applied for the loan itself, we will know what is the loan amount that you're looking for. The colleges would have shared with you your credit cost, what is the cost of tuition fee, and we would have already had an idea about your living expenses. So basis which, so we will keep releasing your fund as and when you are going to require. So you'll have to approach the bank, send a mail across and say, this is the amount that you would require to be released to the respective branch where you have taken the disbursal, and the subsequent disbursal would be done for you.
Perfect, sir. So let me put it like there are a couple of questions. So for the preferential list of universities, you have 100% loan, or premier colleges get 100% loan.
Absolutely.
And the non-preferential list get about 90%.
Correct.
So that's in terms of, there were a couple of questions on the premium list and how they are affected. Sir, एक और चीज, can you discuss a bit about the margin money concept? So suppose what is the margin money, and how does it function, sir?
See, margin money is simple. See, let's say you are taking a loan of 1 lakh rupee. I'm just giving you for ease of calculation. So if there is 100% funding, that means you don't have to bring in any money into the loan. But if you're taking, let's say, non full margin, you're taking only 90% of the loan. So for every 10,000 rupee that will have to be disbursed, let's say you're going to disburse 10,000, 10,000 every whatever tranches. So every time 10,000 rupee have to be disbursed, bank will bring you 9,000 rupee. You will have to bring 1,000 rupee. That is how the margin will work. So 10% is, that's how the margin works. So whatever the amount, your percentage you'll have to bring in, the remaining percentage the bank will bring in, depending on whatever the margin that you're looking for.
Nice, sir. So that obviously can be brought in as and when you take the disbursal. So सारा upfront नहीं
Absolutely.
चाहिए, कुछ नहीं चाहिए. That is not required, sir.
No.
Okay. Um, okay. Now we come to about the Eduloans and BOB. And sir, can you tell us how Eduloans is like integrated with BOB, and how the customers who are there across in terms of the digital integration which we have done, and BOB is the pioneer in that.
Okay. See, first of all, you know it, Bharat, you are a very esteemed partner of Bank of Baroda, and we've had some really good relationship going on for many years now. The advantage is that you know exactly what the process the bank has, owing to your understanding and your team's expertise in knowing how our bank functions, what are the documents the bank is looking for. So data can be submitted to your website, which is linked to our bank. So all your data can be pushed to a bank directly. So a bank takes the data directly from your website as it comes to the bank, and then the processing can start. End of the day, we will definitely will ask you for some of the original documents when you come, but that is at a later stage. But in the meantime, at every stage, your team is like well aware you're going to log in. These are the basic documents that would be required. If you're submitting your academic document, this is what will be required. KYC document, this would be required. If you're submitting a property document, this would be required. So what happens is all of us know most of these documents, but when you actually get to do it, there are small thing. When a student is, let's say, applying to a college, that's where you come in. So when you open up an app and common app, let's say, and you start filling in the data, suddenly there will be a question and you will start having a question. Do I enter this information or do I enter that information? All those doubts will be clarified by your team technically. Suddenly they will ask you semester, non-semester, regular, varied terms. So similarly, in a banking transaction also there will be one or two terms. Though we have tried to make it as simple as possible, there will be so few terms which you will get a little confused. So your team can always step in and say, this is what the bank would be expecting. These are the documents you would be requiring. There are some documents which probably, let's say, for example, in property, you may have to take some NOC from your society. You may have to take some detailing, whatever it is required. The customer can get an upfront information on that, and they can start the process upfront because this document would be required at a later date. And by the time when you come in for the sanction or a disbursal, you can already have the document in hand and you can easily get it processed. So it makes it a lot more easier for the customer. And I guess you're not charging them anything, Banit. Are you charging them anything for this?
No, nothing. It's a free service, sir. So basically,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, when the students approach us, they are looking at this thing, what you call handling various sort of queries, doubts, क्या होगा, कैसे होगा, क्या होगा. So even escalations, wherein we get in touch on video calls and on weekly or bi-weekly calls, कि जहाँ पे हम we kind of help get or solve the situation or help the files get faster processing. So in terms, another thing, sir, which happens is very luckily the student doesn't visit the branch. He directly visits the special mortgage store, which kind of fastens the process.
Absolutely.
So that is one thing
True.
which we work on together. So all you guys out there, I mean, the query list is quite, and I'll start taking up those questions shortly, and we've addressed good number of them. But all you out there, we have a team जहाँ पे हम Eduloans is a platform जहाँ पे you reach out to us. There's a dedicated loan counselor who helps and helps all those. So this is what we have at the moment, about 12,000 odd students, 600 odd loans disbursed, about 70 crores. We have a Google review of 4.9. So how exactly, and in terms of we can help you out. So please reach out to us. Go on to our website, put in your details, or else you can call us as well, and immediately somebody will reach out to you. Okay, now let's, sir. Now we have a good number of hello. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, yeah, I'm very much there.
Okay, so we have some questions now. A few of them are related to documents or property documents. Now, sir, मेरे को
Okay.
and a few of them are related to OC. Now, there are a few handful of questions जहाँ पे आया है कि CC अवेलेबल है, सब कुछ अवेलेबल है, but OC नहीं है. So,
Okay.
documents without OC. Now, does BOB do documents without OC? And ways
Okay.
to mitigate that?
As a rule, we will require OC, Manit. But to be very honest to you, what I would advise all the students is that property is related, clarifications is like a ocean. So unless otherwise you see the full property details, it would be very difficult to say, this is a clear property, this is not a clear property. But if you ask me in general, is OC required? The answer is yes, OC is required. Ownership certificate would be required. But it will also depend on a lot of other documents which are going to be coming along with that particular property. So we would want to see that also, and then probably will be able to take a decision. My submission to all the students there on the call, any property related, I would suggest that you approach Eduloans, or you can speak to our team there in respective location, because the rule for property varies from city to city. As you will know it, Banit, very well. The rules that is applying in Bombay may not apply in Delhi or in Bangalore or in Karnataka. I mean, wherever the other part of the place. So I would request all the students on the call, please, we are more than happy to clarify you all your doubts, but would request you to kindly share the detail with us. And after looking at your property detail, we will be able to clearly tell you whether we will be able to solve, whether the case is good to go or not good to go.
Okay, fair enough, guys. I guess a lot of specific questions are there with regard to OC and all. Acha, sir, now tell me one thing. In terms of the mortgage, like there is a question with regard to stamp duty and registration. Can you throw some light on what kind of stamp duty and registration is paid by? It is equitable mortgage or is a registered mortgage?
Yeah.
And
see, in Bombay, we do preferred equitable mortgage. There is a stamp duty, which is about 0.3% of the sanction amount. Okay, now if this is applied to Bombay, now this amount, this percentage could vary from again state to state.
Correct.
So that's what I told you. Anything to do with the property, India is a very, very diverse. Okay, some of the rules in Pune may not apply in Bombay.
Correct.
So that is why I said it will be very unfair to give a ad hoc answer, which will probably not answer all their queries. So it will make sense, all of you on the call. I mean, Banit is there. You can approach our bank. We'll be more than happy to clarify all your doubts, but we would need the details of the case.
Okay, fair enough. Just sir, another thing, one question which was there, and probably we'll take a couple of one or two last others as well. That in case of premium universities, now if you enter through a pathway, so how does that function? So there are obviously some universities in UK which have a kind of a pathway program. In terms of, do you guys look at it as a premium, or it will be a non-premium list then?
See, what we do for pathways is right now is that my submission is that as long as it is a related subject, we don't have much of an issue. But if it is probably an unrelated subject where, and it is a conditional clause that ye to clear karega, then we will give you an admission in the college, then it becomes a bit of a challenge. But if they say that you have to take additional credit on 2 other courses and you can continue with your education, then you will not have much of a problem with us. But if they say, okay, you please clear your English first, and then you come to us, and then we will give you an admission. First, you will have to prove that you're clear. We can give you a sanction. We will still give you a sanction, but that English portion alone, probably you will have to manage, and subsequently the sanction will be applicable for your other course.
Okay. I just said another thing, question which came up is when do you start the loan process? After you receive the college admit, or you can start parallelly as well?
See, it all depends. Okay, the college admits. The end of the day, if I have to sanction you, I will need the college admit, because we need to know which college you are going to go. So without knowing the college, how can I offer you my best offer that we would want to offer you? So we will require you to give me the college admit. So then probably the sanction letter would be able to give. We will be able to provide you the sanction letter.
Acha, there is another concern which came about. I mean, which is there. Sometimes in the BOB sanction letter, the college name is not mentioned in the standard format in terms of the Bank of Baroda point of it. But I don't think that creates any issue with the visa officer or anything like that in terms, and BOB, the sanction letter is most validated for any kind of
See, in general, we have not heard any complaints about people facing a visa office issue for our sanction letter. We haven't heard anything. Most of our bank is fairly well reputed, even for Australia and some other countries where they don't take other, financial institution sanction letter. Bank sanction letters are considered.
Absolutely. So that, guys, all you guys out there, agar name hai nahi hai, the sanction letter will hold good. So don't worry about your visa. That I can assure you very, very clearly. In terms of, there was one question again on courses. So courses में क्या था कि suppose एक college है and in that college you have accredited say STEM courses but not MBA and the guy is going for MBA. तो फिर प्रीमियम में आता है, नॉन प्रीमियम में आता है?
नहीं आता है. That is why we have classified into 4. There is a STEM, there is an MBA, there is medical. So we classify. Banat, you know it very well. A college which is a premium in STEM is not necessarily a premium in MBA, right?
ठीक है, fair enough. So guys, that answers the question in terms. Now this coming to non-mortgage. So a lot of questions. Sir, does BOB do non-mortgage loans for education and up to what value?
7.5 lakh is the value. We do non-mortgage loans only up to the extent of 7.5 lakh rupee.
Okay, guys, I guess we'll take a few others in terms of. Okay, what about scholarships? So, okay, there's one question, sir, which the guy says that if the margin is 25% on my loan, but I have a scholarship of 25%. So, आप मेरे को बताओ, how does the calculation work when a scholarship is? Suppose agar the whole amount of the loan is say $10,000 and he gets a 20% scholarship. How will the calculation work on margin?
The margin works with the total cost of education consideration. Okay, so if your consideration is, let's say, 1 lakh rupee, and then you take a loan from us. So what typically happens is, am I audible? Okay,
suddenly yes, you're audible. Yeah, but the video went off, but you're audible, sir.
So what typically is that the total cost may whatever margin you're going to bring in, against which the remaining amount will be brought in by the bank. So that's a simple calculation I would want to give to everybody.
Okay, fair enough. So basically, if you have a scholarship, it reduces the amount required, right? So agar aapka, right, so what happens is if you have like a 10 lakh, if you have a 10 lakh rupee and then 25% reduction of scholarship, so you have to pay 7.5 lakh. 7.5 lakh pe 25% margin lagega. I mean, Sri Satya Sai, you can come back to us and we'll address this query in terms of part of it.
So how the entire nitty-gritty is worked out, but technically you need to understand this. Margin is whatever my contribution. If you're going in for 80% margin, 20% margin, 80% more on the total cost of the education. So we need to bring in 20%. We will bring in the 80%. The bank brings in the 80%.
Okay, now, sir, we have in terms of reach. Now, BOB is very well reached, but certain places where the BOB branch, is far off or is comparatively they have not heard of an education loan, etc. So, just for the understanding and clarification of all, every Bank of Baroda branch is eligible to process
absolutely
a loan file, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is no hurdle. And guys, you can come back to us, Sneha, you can come back to us with regard to any kind of problem. That is why we exist. I mean, that is why the Eduloans exist in terms of trying to help you out with that. Okay. Then guys, we will we'll put last and final question in terms of the sanction and disbursal. So Sir, in terms of flexibility of disbursal, now many cases में क्या होता है, suppose I sanctioned the entire amount 50 lakh rupees for the course, उधर जाके मेरे को RA, TA, GA scholarship मिल जाती है. Okay, now in that case I want to sanction a less amount comparatively, उतना मेरे को नहीं चाहिए इस वक्त. How does that function and how?
It's very simple. See, the challenge is only when you want to take more. Okay, so because whatever is sanctioned remains the maximum amount. But if you are, if you go there, let's say if you are only going to raise a request, you're going to say, please pay me only this much, and that is the amount which we are going to disburse. As long as it is within the approved amount, the bank will have no issues.
So any kind of flexibility is possible, right? आपको कम चाहिए तो कम ले लो,
ज़्यादा नहीं मिलेगा. Once you sanction, ज़्यादा कर नहीं पाएंगे ना, because there is an agreement we have already got into. So we have already said you need this much of amount. So the funding would be within that particular amount only.
Perfect, guys. I guess in terms of time limit, this would be, we have a lot of questions. Guys, individually अगर हम करने बैठेंगे, so we'll be there. Okay, how do we contact Eduloans is the final question. Reach out to us on the slide called www.eduloans.org. Put in your name number there. You will immediately get a call from a dedicated loan counselor. So we have region-wise loan counselor, जहाँ पे हमारे we are 10 people split across the country. Hand holding you, guiding you to the best available, loan option, eligibility option in terms of cost and convenience. BOB को कोई cost में beat नहीं कर सकता. I can give you that in writing at the current stage. So if you have a property in place, property is mortgageable, BOB is the way forward and is where it is. And obviously we kind of take care and solve all your doubts, nitty-gritty, chote mote, we kind of help you out and get the most of it. I would try to run one final poll before we kind of end off the session. So for all those people who are you guys looking at the most economical loan option? And if you are, then I guess this session makes a lot of value for you. I guess, sir, it is not surprising. 100% want the most economical loan option.
I think they should. I think that there should be a value for money. And on behalf of the bank, let me share with everybody on the call. We will try and do our level best. The idea is to support you when you want to you're looking for your higher education. Bank is very, very focused on that. Bank will continue to support you. For ease of operations, you can always approach Baneth and his team. Eduloans is always there to guide you guys on how to take it forward. So when you're going for an education, which is, there will be a lot of queries here, there. So we as a team are there to help you out. Please be in touch with Baneth and team also. We will surely help you. And we will try and help you to ensure that you get a good education. These are difficult times. Pandemic times are very difficult, but I really appreciate all of you. You don't want to give up right now. Please keep the momentum on. I think things will pass by and things will look up again. And very best to all of you. Continue your best efforts.
Thank you, Anand sir, for the session. I guess
Thank you, Baneth.
Cleared out a lot of doubts. People, please reach out to us. Abhi, we are, empaneled DSA, you can say, digital agency. We kind of had digitally integrated. We are, in fact, the first ones to get it in 2018 with Bank of Baroda. And we've helped out and we will solve all your queries and get you the best loan available at BOB.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. And
thank you.
Hope you have a good evening in terms and looking forward to hear from you. In case you do not come, you would also look back and hear from us. In terms of Eduloans, you will be, my team would be giving you a call and discussing individual cases. Apologies for the ones who's, we try to take maximum questions, in terms ki sare questions humne liye, but obviously a few are very specific or sometimes, or maybe all questions could not be covered, and we will definitely like to address them on individual basis. Reach out to us and all your questions will be solved. Okay. And Eduloans is a free platform. Whether you have joined any counseling, non-counseling services is immaterial. Aap 101% can approach us. Anybody and everybody can approach us, and anybody and everybody can take these services. These are absolutely free of cost. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir,
Okay.
once again.
Thank you so much, Banit.
And
Thanks.
being here, and hope
Yeah.
you have a lovely weekend ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Same to you, man.